welcome to this episode 203 of Frame and Reference. You're about to drop into a conversation between me, Kenny McMillan, and my guest Christophe Nuyens, DP of Andor Season 2. Enjoy! Dude, I was just looking at your Instagram. I know it was like 5 years ago, but I saw you were trying to like make LUTs, like film LUTs for your Alexa. How did that end up going?
So it was during COVID, so I had lots of time. It was during the lockdown, so yeah, it's a lot of work, and it was quite difficult actually. I don't think I ended up with something I'm using regularly, but I learned a lot of how to create a lot, how to go from film to digital. But yeah, actually, to be honest, I didn't end up with something useful.
I tried doing the same thing, and I learned that you can't. So I think you probably did the same. Shoot a chip chart and then try to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the same. Yeah.
I would like get close, I'd use like the versus curves and I would get pretty close, and then I'd get to purple, and then you'd try to move purple and then everything would go out of whack. And then later a color scientist told me that purple's not a real color. Like in the world, like it's not a thing. So digital doesn't know what to do. It's somewhere between blue and red. So if you move purple, it will in fact screw up all the primaries. And I was like, well, but I did get like a decent looking portrait. I don't know if it's accurate, but it looks nice.
But for me, the thing was there were too many variables. For example, scanning the film already, you have a lot of different ways to scan it, and it comes out every time different. So I ended up by picking things I liked and then working from there. But it's really difficult to I think you have to be a really good color scientist to do it, and I'm not a color scientist. I'm a DP.
Yeah. No, that's actually, I keep mentioning this to like students or people who get caught up in like the film versus digital thing. I'm like, the second it gets scanned, film is digital. Especially if you're taking photos and you're sending them off to whatever lab, like a Noritsu scanner looks different than
that's the thing.
Scanners are, one might be more green. So it's like, what is film?
Yeah, but that's actually the thing. I think it's from the moment it's scanned, you have a lot of different looks, and the thing you could do is print a picture and then put it next to it, but it's then you're doing it manually actually, which is also really difficult.
Right. You shot a bunch of film in the past, right?
I think in my beginning years after school. At school, I shot a lot of film, and I shot a lot of video clips on 60mm on Bolexes and the SR2. So in the beginning years, but actually I moved on really quickly to digital. I think at a certain point I bought a Red One. Totally, really, really in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it also helped me to start my fiction career a little bit. I did more. I was one of the first with the Red One in Belgium, so I did commercials, and I did the first digital commercials, and also the smaller fiction projects, which was nice.
That I don't know whose joke it was or if it was true, but there was like, because my school, we didn't have we were still shooting like 5Ds and DVX 100s and stuff. But when the Red One came out, I remember a DP mentioning that they would have to get like a PA to go to the grocery store every couple hours to get frozen peas to lay on top of it, because it would just overheat on them and fuck the sensor up.
It had a lot of troubles, but I think they gave a punch to the camera manufacturers from film, because actually everything was the development of the digital camera from AVI was really slowly at that moment. I think
it was like the
D21. Yeah, so everybody woke up because of them. So I think it wasn't the best camera, but they cleared the path for the digital film, I think, and to make it accessible.
Yeah, and well, I'm finding it funny that like now younger kids are like really getting into camcorders again. Like now what we considered to be annoying is now like a look. Like I feel like that old MX sensor is now going to be, people are going to go on eBay and buy like these older DSMC1 bodies just to get like what they now consider to be the film. I feel like I've said this before, but like I feel like digital. There was film, obviously, and digital never looked close. So we did whatever we could to get close to that benchmark, and then once that was passed, now it's like only things in the past look like people's idealation. That's not a word. Their idea
Yeah,
of film, or whatever the term the film look. I feel like has changed.
yeah, maybe. But for me, it's I'm the LUTs I'm using, they're always based on film stocks.
Right.
I use a lot of the times the Kodak film emulation LUT that's in DaVinci,
Mm-hmm.
and I use it as a base, and then I start a bit the greater tweaking on it to make something that I want for a show. Yeah, I think I have 5 different versions of it. But the thing I really like about it is it has deep primary colors, dense primary colors, which is really film-like for me.
Right.
And I think that's something for me. That's film. It's how colors and the contrast of the colors reacts. I think that's for me the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference, right? Like photochemical film, I think always tends to look better than just like stock digital. But just that idea of what people think is the quote unquote the film look, I think is now just nostalgia based versus like empirically based, like you're saying, like dense colors, deeper contrast and stuff like that. But it's funny how many people like because the film LUT in Resolve is a print stock. So
it's a print stock. Yeah.
So do you just when you're developing your LUTs, do you kind of just mentally go, all right, whatever my sort of grade is my negative, and then I'm letting the print stock be this sort of not filter in the sense of like Instagram, but like filter like a sieve, like this is going to hone it in sort of.
But I use the print stock as a positive film actually, and I think out of the box it's way too contrasty, and it's also a bit too duotone. So the blacks are too blue for me. For some films or shows, it works. I think a bit less contrast, but most of the time I tweak it. I balance the duotone of it. And especially I work a lot on contrast, which is really important for me. And most of the time I make to shoot on set, I make my LUT a bit too contrasty. It's like a safety for myself on set. So you have to work a bit harder to make it it's a good example is if you have a LUT that's more look-see, then everything looks you don't have to fill in or you have to it's you know what I mean. I think it's you have to be a bit more careful on set with the contrasty LUT, which I think is good.
Right.
It gives me a lot of playroom in the grade.
Well, and I was just thinking about this last night, like, because for a while now because I color the majority of my own stuff. I'm just now getting into a position where I actually have a colorist, but 9 times out of 10, I've been just delivering footage to someone and then they go off with it and they'll slap whatever industry, So I've always just been like, hey, give me whatever extra cash you have. I don't even push it and just go like, let me at least design a LUT for it or whatever. But so what I've been doing is I just shoot the stock LUT, whatever's in the camera, because I know I'm going to change it later. But like I said, I was just thinking about this last night where, especially now that I'm delivering footage to an actual color. So it's like, I should just put in a LUT in that camera that like is contrastier so that I actually know what I'm doing.
But at the same time, if it's for documentary, the contrasting bit becomes a bit scary if you're filming because you're seeing less than you have.
Right.
I think it's a balance because if I do a project which is more a documentary approach, I make it softer just to don't stress all the time that I don't have enough lights on but on a fiction set where you have lights, it's better to use a contrasting one, I think.
Well, and I will say that on the 3 docs that I did this year and last year, it's all been the same director and or team, I suppose, and they all want like a very, I guess, cinematic. I hate using the phrase cinematic; it's so blown out. But like, they want that like contrastier, more aggressive, like no fill kind of look. And I actually did want to ask you because I saw that you used to shoot documentary about like when a director says in a documentary setting, "Hey, can you just go find me some beautiful shots?" What does that mean? Like, to what end? What do you find beautiful? There's beauty in everything. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult question. It's a bit vague, and it depends what the documentary is. For me, beautiful shots, they have to tell something.
Right.
And for me, it's difficult to I need to know the subject.
No, I had the same reaction. I was like, what do you mean? We're in a basketball stadium. Like, it's, but I did want to ask about the LUT thing for Andor. When I saw in I think it was the Clubhouse conversation, you were talking about designing your own LUT outside of the other DPs. And I mean, the whole show looks pretty consistent, but like, what was that process? What were you aiming for? And was there like a handoff, like, or did everyone kind of do their own thing?
I think everybody used my LUT while shooting, and Jean Clément in the grades, like he did in the first season. The first season they used the LUT of the first season, but in base light you can dial in the LUT a little bit more or less, and that's the thing he did. He did also the same thing in season 2. But the base was the LUT we created together.
What were the references for it?
There were no references. So the first season, I think I wanted to. There was a LUT, and I think the LUT that they used for the first season was created by Greg Fraser for Rock One. But I thought it was difficult to work with a LUT that I don't know, especially a LUT that was created for the Alexa 65 and not for the Sony Venice. So I wanted to, create my own LUT, but which resembles the one Greg Fraser did for Rock One. And so I used, like I said, the Kodak film print as a base. And then after a day of tweaking with Jean Clément, we ended up with something that was quite similar to season 1. I think a bit contrastier than the look of Rock One. But that's where we ended up.
I do love how the highlights are handled in your look, because it's like this nice, like soft kind of, I guess, creamy. Everyone likes that word.
Yeah, creamy. But
it's just a wonderful. It's also very like pastel, not pastel necessarily, but it's like painted. That was actually something I did want to ask, because like I've had a joke for a while that a lot of DPs will get awards for the production design, and I was wondering, like, for you, obviously Star Wars is just rife for amazing production design, amazing costumes, and that sort of thing. Including the LUT, I guess, or the way you shot it, but in lighting as well. Like, did you find that you were able to just kind of, I guess, season the scene gently with your lights and everything, because the production design was doing a lot of heavy lifting, or were there like specific things to this kind of specific Star Wars universe that necessitated a different style of lighting than you would normally do?
It was a mix of those things, actually, because you have course, Luke's help for production design is incredible. So I think a nice frame and nice lighting comes a lot of, like you say, from the production design, from the sets that look great.
Mm.
But there were different challenges on different sets. For example, you have the ISB sets where they have the meetings, just a white room with one softbox on top of it. And I think all the DPs who were in there tried to shape it. And we all ended up with something just evening it and shaping the close-ups, and that's it. And that's what works best. So those are actually all those white sets, I think, were for us really difficult, but at the same time really simple because we had to treat them simply like they were. And we have to embrace it, the white and the white walls and the and I think those sets look great for what they are. And then you have sets like the exterior night scenes, for example, in the streets of Gorman. Yeah, that's all about. Yeah, that was a lot of light over there, and that's of course the practicals on the streets are important, but that's something I discussed a lot with Luke, where to put them and what kind of things, and it's something we did together. Something I really love. I remember discussing practicals with the production designer, and he's really good. He understands it straight away. But that's just the background. So over there, yeah, that was a really difficult set because we had to shoot a lot. It was a lot of nights.
Talk about the high scene. They steal
the high scene. Yeah, the high scene. Yeah, so and it's shooting a lot of different directions, and so it that one was a technical, a really light-wise a difficult one, and I think also one of my first big sets of me on Andor. It was I think the second week or something, so it was yeah,
exciting,
a good start. Yeah.
You're just praying for that white room after that. Yeah, I remember I interviewed Adriano Goldman a couple of years ago for the first season, and he mentioned something similar about the prison.
Which was also white, yeah.
Yeah, and I think his answer was he just like would turn off lights on half the set and be like, it's whatever's not in frame, those lights go off, and then that's what we're doing. That's the only way to get any contrast at all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those scenes. It's, for example, one of my favorite scenes is the scenes with Dedra and Cyril and his mother who comes to it. It's also again a white apartment, and there's not a lot to do. And it's if you see that scene out of her context, it's nothing special, but it's something I really loved at the end.
Yeah. How do you manage highlights in that? Like, where are you exposing a white room? Like just at key and then let it, or like,
I think most of the time I overexpose it a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking zone system. I'm like, does it go up? Like,
yeah, I don't. In the zone system, I don't know where it is. It's something I do.
You don't know zone 6, what, bro?
No, but it's I in the zone. If I'm watching the false color, for me, the only thing I watch of the false color is, okay, is there something red? No, okay, great. Is there something? Is there too much purple? Okay, fine. And then sometimes I look at the skin tones to see where the key is, but that's it for me. Everything else is just healing. I use for me, it's something that's really important is to have a good monitor.
Yep.
On set. I have my own Flanders, which I take everywhere.
That's nice.
So I know that I calibrate it every year, and it's every production is calibrated. So I know I know my monitor, so I don't have to worry too much about. What I see is what I get actually. So that's I think my most important tool.
Yeah, I saw in a different interview you did that you were talking about how like the even with everything that's fantastical about the show, that the kind of, like you were saying, that scene with Cyril and Deidre and those kind of more intimate discussion scenes were exciting for you, but also that you tried not to, in general, just like shoot coverage, do a lot of cross, like cross shot and stuff like that. So I was wondering, how do you avoid that in those types of scenes? Because obviously, at a certain point, you can't just shoot one fluid, steady cam shot between two people talking. How do you make those scenes interesting with them being your most, your favorite?
You need a good director for it. And I think I was lucky with Ariel. He was of the same opinion that it's we should avoid normal coverage, shot reverse shot, close up, long lens. For us, we did a lot of shot listing together, and there we were looking for ideas to keep everything moving, and yeah, I think a lot of avoiding the shot reverse shot comes from the movement of the actors and how they move in the space, and yeah, I think that's the main thing.
I really enjoy this. Is completely separate, but like I very much enjoyed, because I know that it was supposed to be like 5 seasons of this show, right? Initially, I love the solution of just doing these 3-episode yearly chunks. I think like more shows, if they can, should do that. I love the idea of like a 3-episode arc every, it made me very happy. But I was wondering how, like, it must have, each 3-episode chunk have like its own look and approach? Like did in the sort of storytelling of it, did you advance the look age-wise in some way, or was the intent to keep it pretty consistent?
No, of course, ISB sets, they were consistent more or less, but I think the idea was really to give it, for me and Ali, to treat every 3 episodes as a film, and also give it a slightly different look. For example, episode 1 to 3 is more sunny, because it starts off like everybody finds place, everybody's happy, there's a wedding, so it had to feel a little bit more shiny and sunny. So I think everywhere we could, there was sun falling in the rooms, in even in Cyril's apartment and Dedra's apartment. Everywhere we could, we tried to have some sun, warmer sun. Even towards the end of episode 3, where the sun is going really low and flary. And then in episode 4, 5, and 6, we were setting up the Common World, which was really moodier. It was like a town in the Italian Alps, in North Italy. So it had to feel more winter, a bit more moody. Everything should be wet all the time. So we tried really to separate those 3, but we shot them also separate. So yeah, but it was nice, because if you have to do 6 episodes in the same look, it can be boring. So it's really nice to just reinvent the new block you're doing.
Yeah, that actually brings up 2 thoughts. I'm gonna make a note. I have notes. Hold on. Where did I put it? Well, either way, I'll just try to remember. I don't have a great memory. One was, I wanted to ask about, you mentioned like sunny stuff and whatever, but I know the grain field scenes were shot, so one was real, and then whatever, a year later or whatever, you had to shoot it on set. And I was wondering what specifically you did. I can't remember who made me realize that this would be helpful, like in general. But what did you have to do to replicate the lighting? I know you were getting color meter readings on set, luckily, or on location. But how did you replicate the look so seamlessly?
I had a ceiling with a lot of sky panels, so I could so I could dial in exactly the ambient color. And then I used, we were lucky when we were shooting that we never had full sun. Most of the time we had sun with a little bit of clouds, soft clouds in front of it. So there was direction, but it was soft. So we had a Manitou with vortexes and sumo lights. I don't know if you know them.
Mm-hmm.
They're quite punchy LED lights. And so the good thing about this, I had something punchy. I could put a diffusion in front of it or to take it away, depending on the scene. And I could dial in the color. It was so easy to dial in the color really exactly like it was on set. And I think that's the way I did it. And also we tried, but we didn't use it because and that's the really the nice thing about Minera. You have the sun, you have those the patchy clouds over the field. So there was sun, the sun was moving all the time. There was the light was moving a lot. So we tried to have a chase on the ceiling.
Oh.
And it looked really great when you were standing on the set, but actually it's stupid because if you'll grade it out because you don't want to have something changing in your shot.
Right.
But that's the nice thing about LEDs. I love working with LEDs. You can, especially with a good desktop, you can do everything you dream of. It's
yeah. Like I was saying, for doing docs, like the one that, or even just corporate stuff, but like doing interviews, the thing that saved my ass more than anything is just setting up the key light, metering the window that of course I've sat them next to, and then just getting the XY coordinates and just dialing that into the back. And then now it's not even color temperature, it's color temperature plus bounce plus whatever's going on outside. And it's just perfect every time. And it's like, it takes me 10 seconds, you know?
That's also one of the tools I always have with me is a good color meter. I think that's it. Yeah, that's something I've wished I had this earlier.
Yeah. Did you so the data points you were collecting on location, was it like just what's the sky doing, or were you doing like sky, direct sun, shade, like
two readings, the ambient light and then the sun.
Yeah.
And my DIT was noting it, and he at every end of the day I had stills with those readings on.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I used also. The way I use the DIT is I don't do a lot of on-set grading. For me, it's more he just gives me references on my monitor in the split screen with, for example, the scenes we already did in the field, and then on the stage, I could just reference it visually, and also with all the details of the color temperature of the camera, which ISO base I was, and all those things are on there. So it's a good, and just if you have all those things already correct, it's fairly easy to recreate it in the stage.
Yeah, it's like an advanced camera log with images.
Yeah.
What did I say? Oh, the second thing I wanted to say, because you mentioned having a look be the same for a bunch of episodes could be boring. I had this thought about, obviously a lot of the show is shot practically. Obviously there's plenty of VFX in it too, but it made me think that, like, when you're making films, it's not plumbing. There needs to be something that also excites the filmmakers, in any department. And I think I'm settling on the idea that, like, if it's on set and it's not practical but it's exciting, the audience will find it exciting. If it isn't, then it's not. Like, that excitement that the filmmakers have also translates to the viewers, because there's plenty of films that are like very VFX heavy that audiences love. This idea that, practical is the only way to go, I don't think is necessarily true in all cases. But what were some of the sort of more exciting, I suppose, practical stuff that you were able to participate in? And then also, what were some of the advantages and disadvantages to shooting that way for a sci-fi show?
The simplest and the thing I enjoyed the most was when we had windows. There was always the discussions of, okay, if you have windows, blue screen, green screen, painted backdrop, or LED. And I was always most happy with or LED, but almost even more happy with a painted backdrop because you can light something like it's practical and you can shoot in all directions with smoke, with flares, without restrictions.
Right.
And if you have blue screen or green screen, you have the restrictions of Atmos, of flares. So it restricts you a little bit. And then I think there are also scenes with the heist, for example, where the big truck crashes.
Right.
That's all practical, actually. It's we had a truck that was on suspension that could lower down, could plow in the ground, and we did. It's a boy's dream to do something like that because you're testing those things. Which camera we're using? We had we had a rail cam following the truck. We tested several systems how to do it perfectly because we had everything previous. And there's one thing to previous something, but there's another thing to find those shots in with the stunts.
Right.
And it's really nice to work all those little technical things out. It's yeah. I've for me it's always I enjoy those technical things, but like I said before, I love to shoot just scenes where there's good acting. So I'm somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously you'll be moved by an incredible performance, but also seeing a group of stormtroopers standing there is fun.
Yeah.
That's real. I saw Tony Gilroy did an interview where he was talking about all the world building and stuff like that. And I was wondering how that affected the way that you approached shooting it. Like, I assume you had plenty of discussions with Tony about like how you wanted it to feel. You made lookbooks, I saw you reference like Apocalypse Now in some situations, and like various
was for you.
So I was wondering if you could like walk me through what those discussions look like and how they have informed the way you shot.
I think the direction Tony gave was already a little bit in scripts. He was quite clear in the scripts, and then
he's a good writer.
But that's the thing. And that's really nice as a DP to work with someone like Tony. It's almost coming on a plate. So yeah, and then me and Ari, we did a lot of. We had discussions in his office, mood boards for every planet actually. And we took our time to create those mood boards, and then of course we talked a lot with Luke Hull, who had really beautiful concept art, which also helps to give a direction of where to go, because his concept art is incredible also.
Yeah, it's what were the films that you got? I already said Apocalypse Now, but was there like a list of films that you went and watched and were like, ooh that?
No, to be honest, it's a lot of shot tech, and of course, for some scenes, for example, the opening scene of episode 1, I went through a lot of Star Wars films just to see that big hangar. For me was really okay. How should I light it? How it's again white, and I watched a lot of Star Wars films again, and I took from every film the thing I really liked, but it's not that I copied something from another film. It's just this is something I like from that film. This is also with the mood boards. It's the same. It's you have a mood board with so many different films, but this picture is just for the flare, and this picture is maybe something we should show Luke for the sets, and another picture maybe for the practical lights. So I think it's those mood boards are about details that where you can. I'm a better talker with pictures actually.
Sure.
It's for me. This is what I mean about the practical lights, or this is what I mean about the contrast I want to do. So Yeah, that it's just a way of talking and communicating for me.
Yeah. I had something. This is why I have see now. This is the issue. Is I was really excited about the show. I took too many notes. I don't know like I don't know where the fuck I'm going. Um. Yeah. Oh, it was prep time. You had quite a bit of prep time on this, right?
Yep, a lot, which
Yeah.
was good. It's normally I'm always fighting to have enough prep time on every job. For I prep is something I really enjoy and something that's really important for me. But most of the time they don't want to give me it because yeah, not all the people understand that it's important. A good prep that it will save you time and money while you're shooting.
Yeah.
And yeah, on Andor it was I started prepping in mid-July 22, I think, and we started shooting mid-December.
Mm,
So
wow.
so so
Yeah,
just for
usually
three
six
episodes. And
weeks. Yeah, usually 6 weeks is good.
yeah,
6 months is
yeah.
great.
And that was for three episodes, but it was to do the first block of tours, um but it's so good because you get to know all the people. Everybody was in the same office. VFX was there. They had a whole level where they were working. Then the level underneath was a art department, and then we were at the ground floor. And it was so nice. We had every day we had meetings with Luke, with VFX, with SFX. So you're all working together as a team, and you have those little meetings where you just really quickly talk about things to do. Everybody goes to his office, starts working on his. We come back, we readjust, and it's such yeah, it's so nice to work like that. And I think it's something you really feel. It's to do a show like that, it's a team effort, and you have to work together. And to work together in prep, you have to be together, and you have to have the decent time to do it together.
Yeah. Did you find obviously if you're on a very truncated prep time, or in my case, sometimes it's like just show up and we'll figure it out. You can only solve the most immediate problems, right? And then you just kind of hope that
Yeah,
you figure it out. But when you're given that much time, as David Lynch famously said once, is like you're allowed to go dreamy with it. You're allowed to, in his case, he goes real dreamy. But I just mean like, uh, were there times where you were able to just kind of sit there and like throw a baseball at the wall and just be like, ooh, and have inspiration come to you instead of having to go like mine for it?
oh no, that's really it was really we had to get a lot happened in the office of Ariel, the director. We were there all together and sitting and brainstorming, and then sometimes we were brainstorming about a schedule, a little bit boring, but
Right.
important too.
Important.
But then from some, and then we every day we scheduled 2 hours or 3 hours, just me and Ari, just talking about films and talking about really seeing, reading photo books and just spitting out ideas. And I think that was really good. And it didn't feel that we had to push out ideas and we had to be fast. No, we had the time to, yeah, to do that, and I think that's really fruitful.
Yeah. Well, I've taken to asking any DP who brings it up about the photo books that they like because I started collecting them. Shout out to Tim Ives for getting me started on that 5 years ago. It's an expensive hobby, but what photo books do you like in general? But which ones were you using for this, or just kind of perusing through?
I like a lot of press photos. Uh, and what's the name again? Yeah, the I'm always attracted to yeah, documentary and press photos. I
Mm.
don't know why, but it's something. There's the reality in there that fascinates me. Also, the natural light and that's the thing that attracts me the most.
Kind of the Bresson kind of street
Yes.
photography type thing, sort of.
Yeah, but also war photography, for example, for Andor was
Sure.
quite useful. So it's yeah, a bit yeah, Associated Press, those kind of things. I think yeah, it's interesting for me.
Yeah. You mentioned everyone being in the same building. What was your conversations with VFX like? Because obviously, certain movies you can kind of tell that the VFX supervisor wasn't on set. Um, but what were you talking with them about? How are they able to help you? How are you able to help them?
I think for every set and every world, we discussed every detail. Actually, it's from like I mentioned before. Okay, we have windows over there. What are we going to do with those windows?
Mm.
So that's one of the, for me personally, as a DP, one of the most important things. And then we did a lot of prevising with them, and also the scenes which were full VFX. They showed the also their previs they did on it. So for example, the beginning with the TIE fighter chase,
Right.
uh, which is all full VFX. Of course, you have the inside in the cockpit, but it was really important to see the direction they were going in. We could give ideas and input to what they were doing, and they did the same towards us. So there was a lot of feedback loop between us, which works really well. And what kind of discussions we had more. It's also um, sometimes we needed to know how, for example, the the safe house, how did the exterior look. So they created a 3D world of where the safe house was, so we could have an idea if we look outside, how does it look. So all those things, yeah, they think that yeah, they helped us a lot with it. They're really really good.
Yeah. And the safe house had, going back to the backdrop, that had a painted backdrop, right? Because you had like
No LEDs.
that was LEDs.
Yes.
Mm,
So over there we used LEDs because there was a lot of night. The painted backdrop doesn't work at night for me.
sure.
Um,
Because you have to light it versus an emissive.
yeah, and the safe house we had a lot of seats in there, so it's still expensive. Even for a show like Andor, it's we had a huge LED wall around the set, and it's really nice because yeah, you can say I want to have some more lights over there, and they had all those layers which they could animate brighter or darker, and we could choose the time of the day. But all those things were chosen before we start shooting. So, for example, that's a good example of discussions we had with VFX. Okay, we need 5 settings, day of time settings for the LED wall, and yeah, so all those little things, and yeah, then we had to decide which ones, where's the sun, yeah, all those things.
Yeah. Speaking of the TIE fighter sequence, I know you guys used some of the more prosumer cameras like FX3, FX6, whatever, to blend in with the Venice. And I was wondering what were, if any, the challenges of using prosumer cameras uh, with alongside the Venice, and how you may have tackled those. Like, is there a color difference? Is there a exposure considerations on those less expensive cameras?
I did a quick side-by-side test between the FX6, FX3, and the Venice one.
Hmm.
And actually, because they're all S-Log, if you put a lot on, they're quite similar, maybe a bit warmer and a bit. The there's a little shift in color temperature and hue. And of course, also in texture, because the thing I noticed was everybody's always saying, with the FX3 you can film in the dark. But then I was pushing the Venice to its limits next to the FX3, and see the Venice could go further.
Right.
It's without too much noise. So that was a surprise for me, maybe a good surprise, because yeah, it's still a more expensive camera. Um, but aside of that, I think they're much really good, and that's a nice thing about the Sony cameras and the family of cameras. They really work well together. I think the only problem we bumped into was the FX3 has a stabilization in it.
Mm,
And when we were using the camera on a gimbal and we were doing really violent moves, the even with the stabilization off, the sensor was moving.
right. Because
So,
it's just kind
so
of on a loose gimbal in there almost.
yeah, it's yeah, but it's on a loose gimbal, and it was really so we only used it where the motions were not too violent, and then we brought in the FX6. I know FX, yeah, 6 I think is the bigger one. Huh?
Yeah. Well, there's the 9 too, but no one seemed to have used
No, but
it.
it's the 6 where you could lock the sensor, so it didn't have the same problem.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. The 6 has IBIS?
I don't know, or it didn't. It has image stabilization, but I don't know. It didn't have the problem.
Right, right. How do you, what about the workflow? Like on an FX3, I have an F55, so I don't even,
Yeah.
but on the FX3, obviously you don't have SDI, you don't have time code, you don't have like how do you manage those kind of issues where you don't have just like the features that a cinema body gives you?
But time code, we had a clap with the time code on, so that helps a lot. And we also did tests together with ILM, also which format to film, because we had the option to record in ProRes RAW
Right.
on an external device. Then we had the option I forgot the codec, but the best codec on the FX3.
XADCS probably.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. And we tested all the codecs, and actually the best codec on the FX3 was also the best for ILM.
Interesting.
It was better. It was better than the ProRes RAW for
Do you know?
us.
Do you know like was it like a limitation of the HDMI? Like maybe like the
I don't know. It's just we all had the feeling that it looked better and cleaner straight from the camera. Maybe it's true. Yeah, maybe it's through the HDMI connection. I don't know.
I do know that most cameras that shoot raw, like I have a C500 Mark II as well and a C70, and when you shoot raw on those, they're noisier. But that's because apparently I feel like most cameras have like even if you turn it off, there is still noise reduction. So
Noise reduction. Yeah.
if that's what it was.
Maybe that's the thing that we saw.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I always find it interesting to see where digital cinema technology has come just because from my perspective, obviously, like when I started college is when it started to progress. So like, I still feel like I have a recent memory of like when I was fighting, like, oh no, I'm using a 5D. That's just as good, and now I'm like, it's not just as good. It's not.
Yeah, I think for me,
But
the
they are now.
FX3 is almost no, the FX3 is almost as good as Venice. Look at the creator. It's just not as user friendly as a Venice.
Right.
It's just a fiddly camera. You don't have the internal indies. The menus are really shitty. It's really not a user friendly camera.
It's not production
It's
ready.
but the images coming out of it is for what it is. It's incredible.
Yeah. I can't really point to a camera that exists in the past even 10 years that like looks bad. Like the one might be better than the other, but I don't know if like you could pick up almost any camera modern and be like, oh, that's actually just bad.
No, it's true. And what I also think is um, sometimes between colleagues, I hear a lot of discussions. I don't like that camera. I like that camera. And I don't agree with those discussions because I know, I don't, especially directors in commercials, they can say, but I love that camera. The look of the camera is better. But the look of the camera, there's no look of the camera. If you're using LUTs, you're throwing away the look of the camera.
Well, it's like we're saying with film and scanning.
Yeah, the from the moment you start using custom LUTs, the look of the camera is gone.
Right.
And the only difference you feel is in the grading, and is the grader who feels it. Even you sitting next to him doesn't feel it. It's just yeah, maybe how the highlights react and how clean the blacks are. That's maybe the difference, and the resolution. But the other thing about but yeah, the look of the Alexa is way better than the look of the Venice or of this camera. I don't agree with it, because I think with a good grader, both cameras can look great.
Yeah.
It's so similar. It's just the way the camera for on set you feel a difference. For me, for example, with the Venice, the high ISO flexibility you have with the Venice is such a plus compared to the Alexa LF for me.
Mm. In what
Yeah,
way?
and then well, you can push it way higher.
Oh,
If we
sure.
shoot with the Alexa LF at 3200 ISO, it's noisy.
Yeah.
It's not ugly, but it's noisy. Uh, but on the Venice, it stays quite clean. But then on the Alexa LF, yeah, the highlights are and on all Alexa cameras, the highlights are a little bit easier to manage. But you're on a set, you're on a film set, so you can control it. So and the difference is really small. It's really, really, really small.
That actually brings up something I've been wondering, which is obviously back in the film days, like I was taught at least that you had about 3 stops above and below key, and then after that, sorry. Um, how do you approach digital filmmaking just from a pure, like, let's just say with the Venice or LF, if you have a lot of I know you have experience in that, but where do you find your like latitude? Like, are you kind of compressing your exposures when you're on set? Are you saying like, all right, skin can only be like a half stop over, and then I'm only going to allow this stuff in the background to be like 1 or 2, and then the rest is up to God? Or like, how do you mentally approach
Well,
exposure?
well, actually, the way I do it is because most of the time you're working for X79 or cinema.
Mhm.
So I think how much stops do you have in SDR? Or is it 7, 8? I
Something like
don't, I
that. Yeah.
don't, yeah.
I think it's
Uh,
8.
and most of the cameras right now have 14, 15 stops of latitude. So it's too much actually. So what I do is when I create my LUTs, I always compare it to the Rec 709 contrast wise. So that I have the same amount of stops in my LUTs. And when I'm checking my false color, I'm checking my false color on the LUTs and not on the log. When I have a doubt, I'm going to have a look in my log, but normally I don't look in my log. I'm looking on my Rec 709, my LUT signal. So, and then, yeah, I think the for me, the most important thing is no reds, not too much. Of course, you cannot avoid it. And well, the blacks, the purples, I also watch. And then, yeah, of course, for when you're shooting in a desert, my skin tones are a little bit overexposed. I'm looking for purple, a bit in no, not purple,
Yellow,
pink.
pink. Yep.
No, pink. A lot of pink in the face. And then I'm in a darker environment. It's a bit of green. Those are my benchmarks actually, but not yeah.
That was a big thing that helped me out a lot, was getting an external monitor and getting the EL zones. Shout out to Ed
Mm,
Lockman. Just so you know, because I use a spot meter still, but it's nice to just be able to visualize it. And then just like you're saying, I'll use that, and then like I said, I tend to do like 3 stops up, 3 stops down, and then I'll toggle on the camera monitor the false color that shows me the log false color, exactly like you're saying,
yeah.
like for clipping or crushing, and then I'm like, all right, we're good. It's
Yeah, that's
so helpful.
but those cameras actually they're if you're working for X709 or cinema, you have so much I shouldn't say it, but you have so much room for error
Yeah.
uh, um, compared to film. So yeah, in a way it's easier, but now more and more shows are HDR. So
Right.
that's where you start to, you're using more and more from the latitude of the camera.
Have you seen, I don't know how nerdy you are, but have you seen Yedlin's HDR? Not the old one, but the like last month he came out with his little demo about how HDR implementation is
I
bad.
don't know.
Dude, it's 2 hours
I
long,
want to
but it's
watch it because
fascinating.
I'm I'm um, um I'm in the SBC, the Belgian Society of Cinematographers, and
Right.
I'm in a technical committee also over there. And
Oh,
HDR comes up quite a bit over there, and I do a lot of TV shows, so I'm a lot of the times I'm confronted with it in the grade also,
yeah.
and it yeah something I think you have to treat it like headroom in audio. It's there when you need to use it, but you don't have to use it all the time. And um, Andor, there was also an HDR grade, but it has an SDR look to it. Uh, but and sometimes in brighter sets it becomes brighter, but that's all there is to it, I think.
Well, the thing he specifically was talking about that I had no idea about, like I'm relatively educated, but obviously not at his level. And I didn't realize that SDR is like a floating scale. You know, whatever TV you turn on normal SDR stuff, the brightness just will adjust. You know, it's like kind of like a sliding scale, but HDR goes, that's 20 IRE and it pegs it there. So if you have a bad TV, when people are complaining about, oh, everything looks too dark, it's like, well, because you probably got a TCL television and anything under 100 IRE is just crushed, and that's all of SDR. Unless you have an SDR TV, which will move it, appropriately. And I was like, I didn't know that. That's actually fascinating. Because why be prescriptive if the TV can't do it?
Yeah. It's I think it's a good thing, but it's not used well. A good example is also a lot of Netflix shows ask Dolby Vision HDR.
Right.
And the idea behind it is really good because it adapts to the television. So it sees, okay, this television is 500 nits, so okay, let's use those bits. This television is 1,000 nits, so use this. So that's really good. But the bad thing about it is we, as a cinematographer, we need to grade it HDR first.
Oh.
And then we're grading it. Of course, I always try to grade it with an SDR look, but then it converts it automatically to SDR, and then it doesn't look good anymore. Then you have just 6 control buttons to contrast and saturation. It's like just adjusting your television,
Right.
so you don't have a lot of controls anymore, and that's really painful way to work. So, and I think, hopefully those things will be solved soon.
Yeah. I think it sounds like the smart people are on it. Well, I guess you're one of the smart people if you're on the technology committee. But you brought up there's a lot of there's a lot of leeway for screwing up an exposure or whatever. I wanted to hone in on that a little bit and talk about I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you mean is like, oh, if something's a little underexposed or a little overexposed, like you could solve that in the grade, no problem. But what about your lighting ratios? Do you find that digital allows for fudging there? Like, can you add contrast? I kind of know the answer to this, but can you add contrast in the grade to fix maybe you didn't give enough contrast to the image, or does that always look bad?
It always looks better when you get it right the first time on set. You can fix things in the post, but it will always look better when you get it right on set. That's the
yeah. Well, I guess I'm asking for other people, but the idea of like there's two different types of in this theoretical. There's two different types of leeway that digital gives you. One being the whole image being overexposed or underexposed, and then the other one being again ratios and stuff. And I guess we kind of talked about that with the LUT, like making it contrast.
Also the ratios also, if you want to have more contrast in the face but not on the background, then you start working with masks and yeah, it works, but it always feels a little bit off. And I think those ratios you have to nail them on set.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Well, I mean, and the other thing too is on a professional level, no colorist is going to have the time to sit there. Like you can, I've done it. You know, you like get a depth map on the person in front and then go into the back and then drop it and pump the highlights so it looks normal. But like no colorist is going to spend 10 minutes per shot just to do that part, you know, like,
No, but that's the thing. But it's not only,
and to fix
even
your
if
fuck
you have
up.
the time, even if you have the time, you'll still feel it that there's something not natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The how do you find that you sell naturalism? Like how if you're in a completely controlled space, what makes something feel natural as opposed to kind of lit simplistically? You know, like, oh, obviously people go, oh, put a big 12 by, bash some light through it, nice soft source, we're good. Doesn't always look natural. How do you make that work?
I think the natural feel comes from the good balance of key and still, I think.
Mm.
And especially if you're working in stages, um, I try to constrain myself to always ask for ceilings. So I cannot put anything on, on the ceiling, and
Oh, a physical
it
ceiling so you can't light from above.
yes, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Um, yeah, I always, for me, it's important that sources are where in a natural environment the sources are, and that I think that's the way I always try to work. And I think that the extra difficulty in a stage is that if you have windows, you have the fill lights on top of the windows, and then you have the key coming in. So that ratio is quite important, and also the color ratio between the sun, for example, and then the shade. Those ratios are important for me. I think it's more about the ratios between colors and key and fill, I think. And
Yeah.
most importantly, directions. Don't put the light where it cannot come from.
Well, so following that, what's the difference between um, putting all of the practicals and sources on your set it from where they would be in reality versus just going to a location and turning on the camera and going, it's where it is. That's where the light comes
No,
from.
but on a location, but on the
This is a
stage
leading
also.
question, by the way.
No, no, no. But uh, for example, you have windows on a location, you put cherry picker in front of the windows with or soft or hard lights. Uh, but yeah, and that's maybe a better way to say it. On a stage, I treat it like I'm lighting a real set on occasion.
Hmm.
That's I always try to approach it like that.
Well, and then because that was a bullshit question. My thing was
Yeah,
just
no,
going to
no,
be
no,
like,
no.
no, I mean, like I know the answer, but it's supposed to be educational. Uh, my thing was also going to be like the sun could be coming from anywhere, but at least on a set you can control how bright that fake sun is. You know, you can control it's even though the lights are placed where they are, even if it's the exact, maybe you're making a replica of an exact spot that was in reality on a set, you get to control the ratio, the brightness of everything and yada yada. Um,
But
was
for a good, sorry to come back, a good example was the fields we shot in real fields and then on the stage. I think there the most difficult thing was to find the good ratio between the sun and the film and how the softness of the film. I think that was for me the most difficult thing to make it look natural. Dialing in the colors was easy because I measured everything. But it's just those ratios who were quite difficult.
well, and all of that grain is quite reflective.
Yeah.
So you could lose contrast pretty quick in there, I assume. The this has to this is probably your biggest project to date, yeah?
Yeah. Mm.
What not that you haven't done some sick probably like Lupin was sick. What was it? I haven't obviously watched it, but even just the looking up Infinity. That looked pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a nice thing to do.
Yeah. The what are some of the lessons you learned from doing such a big project? And obviously, like Disney, Star Wars is kind of at the upper tier of at least expectations nowadays. Like, what were some of the things that you maybe didn't expect, or not didn't expect, but were surprising to you? Things that you learned, and also what are some things that you brought to that were maybe like you learned from other projects that you were able to apply to Andor.
What I learned was to be honest, in the beginning when I was starting, I was a little bit nervous. I was a big show and big crew and big expectations. But actually, it's not so different than doing something smaller. It's the same problems. Not enough time, not enough money, uh, and that's, I think, also one of the things I like about my job is the problem solving. And yeah, for me that felt quite the same than on the smaller jobs.
Yeah.
And what I learned is, yeah, the prep again. It's how nice it is to have such a good prep, and it will make me fight even harder next time when they don't give me the prep I need to just yeah, have a good time and really use it. And also I think it's also so good to be all together in the same office, because sometimes also you can have in France they work a lot like that, that the prep is a lot at home and everybody's working in his own corner but not in the same office, and that's still different. I think it's really good to be in the same office and work all together.
Yeah, there's obviously been a lot of, ever since COVID, a lot of work from home changes, a lot of obviously Zoom meetings. And I think I've settled on the idea that like working from home, this is less cinematography, but like working from home is perfectly acceptable. Even having certain meetings over online is perfectly acceptable. But for creative discussions, those should be in person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. A schedule is perfect to discuss on Zoom, but from the moment you're starting, yeah, to be creative, you need to be in the same room so you can point to pictures, and yeah, you have to draw on papers. Yeah, you need to be together.
Yes.
And I think another thing I learned is to appreciate pre-lights. On Andor, I did a lot of pre-lights.
Oh, pre-lights. I thought you said relight. I
Yeah,
was like, oh no.
no, pre-lights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And oh yeah, I really enjoy it. Just the day before we go to set, or a few days before, I get went to the set just to pre-light everything. And then the nice thing was we were all shooting at Pinewood, so when I was at prep, my rigging gaffer could come to me and say, "Ah, I did the changes you asked. Come over, have a look. We'll walk over there. Oh yeah, that's good. Maybe can you change this, or maybe we should try another fixture over there. Okay, I will try it tomorrow. It will be ready." And it's so nice to, yeah, to try to keep it as good as possible.
Yeah. Well, and I think that actually highlights how, obviously here in LA, there's been a lot of discussions about how like the stages are empty. A lot of people moving production to other places and stuff. But I think what you're speaking to highlights how important, not the studio system necessarily, but the studios are, the physical places where you can walk around and see other things, get inspired by other things, have the, in our case, the bungalows where you're all together, like that creative environment, I think, has been undervalued. Not
Yeah,
that
I
I'm not
agree.
experiencing them, but I can feel it.
No, but I totally agree, because it's yeah, you're in the office, all working together. My gaffer was in the office next to me, with his rigging gaffer, and sometimes we said, okay, this afternoon let's walk through all the stages and just all the sets they're building. Let's have a discussion, and from those walks we had ideas and we tried different things, and it's yeah, it's really creative, and that's really difficult without such prep, and also without being everything being at the it's so nice that everybody was concentrated around Pinewoods, so we could work from there and in our little bubble, hey, big bubble.
Right. Well, and it's like I said, if it's exciting for you, it'll be exciting for the. Obviously, like I was one of the people who was very vocal about getting the first season on Blu-ray. I don't know if Disney listened to us specifically, but like I was like, I swear to God, if they take this offline, I'm gonna be pissed. But just because I mean, the first season and especially the second season, in my opinion, are just absolute A plus. Everyone's just firing on all cylinders, and I think it doesn't happen. Obviously, the characters are compelling and whatever, but like that doesn't happen without all of that, the creative people getting together and being creative and being excited about doing that. I think that part isn't. I think people are whoever has the money seems to not be so excited about letting creative people get together and kind of goof off for a while.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the strengths of Tony and Sana. They I think thing that they did really well was creating the team, just finding the good people together. Me and Ari. Of course, yeah, Luke Hell was incredible, talented. They just made a team that really worked together as a family, and also they gave us a little bit of a lot of freedom actually. Just from the moment they trusted us, they gave us quite a bit of freedom. And of course, we had creative discussions but yeah, the way they approached it was really nice.
Yeah. I know I got to let you go here in a sec. Well, technically we're over, but I did want to ask: is there a scene in those first? You did 6 episodes, right? Not just the first 3.
Yeah,
the first 6.
6.
Is there a scene in any of those episodes that you felt really like represented your signature, like something you looked at and you went like, if I had one scene in my reel, that's the one.
Oh no, it's. I have a lot of scenes. It's.
You can give me a collection. That's fine.
It's. For example, I love a lot the wedding scene at the end. But the thing
everyone loved that.
But it's totally not my style. It's something. Normally I do more darker, grittier things, and that was quite shiny. And so because it's not my style, I really like it. And then, which is more of my thing, is the meeting with Kennick in the mountains, in that dark with the projection and everything. That's a painted backdrop also over there. And I really loved it. The scene is not special, but I really like the mood in there in that room.
Yeah.
And then what else? All the Yavin stuff. I love also in the field, in the episode 1 and 2. It's yeah, for me it was. I love Apocalypse Now, and it was almost like playing with between Star Wars and Apocalypse Now, and yeah. So yeah, I think from each episode I have my little scenes I like.
Yeah. It's yeah, it all looks good. I did last question. I did forget. Because you shot Ultra Vista. Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars, obviously, famously, the original one, along with films of that era. Famously, like C series, anamorphics. Why go
like the first season?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Why change lenses?
Because I wanted to shoot full frame. So the C lenses.
Super 35?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the C series don't cover the full frame of the finish. And also with the squeeze factor 2 of the Cs, even in Super 35, you're losing quite a bit of your sensor. So you're even shooting a bit smaller than Super 35. And with the Ultra Vistas, they cover full frame and their squeeze factor 1.6. So you're almost using the whole sensor. That means you have a lot of sensor to work with. And I really like to shoot wide and stay close to the character.
Right.
And that meant that you could be with the character, but at the same time feel the background and feel all those beautiful worlds that were created by Luke. Yeah, there's. I don't think everybody will see the difference, but I hope they will feel it. And it's something. Yeah,
Well,
it's for me, it's something I feel. Yeah, something that felt for me that had to be changed.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
it's. I think people feel it. They don't see. It's totally different.
I felt it. Uh, the, uh, I assume you just didn't shoot those wide open, right? Especially if you're trying to.
Oh, quite a bit.
Really? Hey, I
So,
paid for T 1.5. I'm going to use it, you know?
no, but they're 2.8 and 4. So
Oh, okay.
I think some of them were even a bit lower than 2.8, but
Reasonable.
so yeah.
Gotcha.
But to give an example, a wide lens, a 50 is a really wide lens in that setup.
Right.
So yeah.
Because you were shooting I saw you mostly shooting on like 40, right? Somewhere around there.
40, 50, and 65. I think those are the most used lenses.
Yeah. Well, the show is literally probably my favorite, season 1 and 2, but especially 2 in the past 10 years. So congratulations on doing a good job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I hopefully next. Are you working on anything right now? Or you got something in the pipes?
Yes, I'm starting something in October, but I cannot tell too much about it.
What? I was just gonna say when that gets settled up, I'd love to have you back on and talk about whatever that is.
Thank you very much. It was really nice.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Frame and Reference is an Owlbot production, produced and edited by me, Kenny McMillan. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to frameandrefpod.com and clicking on the Patreon button. It's always appreciated, and as always, thanks for listening.